Morning, boys and girls. We're going to go over a bunch of different things today, but the first thing I want to do is I want to go over a reality check. Quite often I have people say to me, Carmen, why should I change my job? Here's the reality. Think about all the people that you know, okay, who don't like their job, wish their job had better hours, wish their job was in a different location, wish they were making more money. Most people at the end of the month wish they had an extra $500, an extra $700. There's a lot of people looking for part-time jobs. There's a lot of people who are cutting down on their expenses. And the reason for that is because what you think it costs and what it does is two different things. It is amazing. I don't know if you can remember when you were living with your parents and you thought, okay, well, mom and dad has some bills, but you didn't know all of the bills until you went out and all of a sudden you realized, hey, I can't afford cable. Hey, I can't afford to have a phone. Hey, I got to make sure. You go into people's homes sometimes and they say, hey, can you turn the heat up? No, our heating bill's a little bit too much. So today we're going to give you a little bit of a reality check on what is expected in life. So we're going to start off, for example, right now, Jacob, we're going to do your life. Fair enough? So we're going to start off with something simple. Everybody has goals. I mean, you go through high school, maybe you go through university, maybe you go through college, and you have goals in your life. You know how you think your life's going to be in 20 years. Right now, you're having as much fun as you can, but you already have yourself 20 years. So right now, Jacob, we're going to put you ahead, and you're now 33 or 34 years of age. Now, when you're 33 or 34 years of age, would you like to own a house? That's a reasonable goal, okay? So we're going to go take a reasonable goal, and we're going to take a reasonable mortgage, and it's obviously a little bit different. For example, if you wanted one in Toronto right now, you're not getting one under $1 million. If you want one in Auckland right now, you're not getting one in $1 million. We're here in Hamilton, and in Hamilton, the average price is over $600,000 right now. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you end up with a $600,000 mortgage, okay? Which means you would have had to have a minimum of $60,000 down payment, which means between now and, how old are you right now?
20.
Okay, so now in the next 12 years, you got to save at least $5,000 every single year. Okay, above your expenses, above your living expenses and your partying and your cars and your gas and everything else. So the mortgage payment on $600,000 is $3,157. Okay, that's what you got to pay every month. Now, would you like to have some furniture in your home? I mean, I don't think you buy a house usually furnished, do you? Okay, now the average home, usually 50% of the price of the home is how much you usually have in furnishings. Now this was always taken back when the average house is $400,000. So let's just take $200,000. And when you start to add things up, like you start adding up carpet, you start adding up your sofa, you start adding up TVs. For example, I have 5 TVs. You start adding up your towels and your cutlery and your pots and pans and your lampshades and your curtains, and all this stuff starts adding up. It starts getting crazy. So let's say $200,000, which is a reasonable figure when you actually start to put everything together, but let's amortize that over. You're not going to all buy it all at once, you're building it up continuously. So if we amortize that even over, let's say 20 years, which means on average every 20 years you get rid of your sofa. Now do you think your sofa is going to last you 20 years? Probably not, okay? But let's say you do. Remember your fridge, your stove, your dishwasher, all your VCR, all these, well not VCR, DVD players. Okay, it's not going to be DVD players at some point in the future, okay? So that's $10,000 a year, so you're talking about $900 a month on furniture, okay? Now, would you like to have electricity on your home? What's your average electricity bill going to be per month? Now, pretty well, world standard, let's say $200 a month. Is that reasonable? Okay, so let's say between electricity and heating, $200 a month. Now, by the time you're 32, chances are you're going to have a wife and you're going to have maybe 1 or 2 children. Okay, would you guys like to eat some food? Simple proposition. Now, how much is it going to cost per week for a family of 4 for food? No? Well, I would say if you can do it for $300, you're getting away lucky. Because at $300 a week, and remember, these people are eating 3 meals a day, you're not eating steak very often. But let's say you do it for $300 because you're obviously on a budget. So that's $1,200 a month for food. Now, would you like to have cable? Would you like to have cable in your home? Is it reasonable? If you found out that somebody had cable or somebody had Sky, would you sit there and say, boy, are they ever lucky? They've got to be really rich. I mean, you can go into the projects, you can go into some of the poorest areas of town, and you'll see cable boxes and Sky boxes everywhere, won't you? So now cable's going to cost you, let's say you have the cheapest model, it's only going to be $100 a month. Okay? Now, would you like to have a car? Is it reasonable for you to expect to have a car? Of course you're going to have a car. You're going to have a car when you're 32. Now, what's the price of a car going to be? Now, do you want to end up having yourself a $500 car that's going to continuously break down, or a normal car? If you go out and buy a normal car and you put it on payments, and let's say at the end of 4 or 5 years you trade it in and get another car, you're always going to end up having payments of about $700 a month for a reasonable car that's going to have a warranty. That's reasonable. Now, we're not even talking changing tires. We're not talking grease trap oil changes. But we are going to talk about the fact that the car is going to have gasoline, isn't it? Let's say you go through only a tank of gas a week. Then what's a tank of gas cost you? Let's say $75. Because you're a cautious person. So there's $300 a month for gas. Okay? Now, would you like to take the wife and the kiddies out to McDonald's once a week? If you found out that somebody you knew took their family to McDonald's once a week, would you sit there and say, man, they gotta be rich? So they're not really splurging, are they? And what's it gonna cost for the wife, you and the kids? Maybe it's gonna cost you $40, right? That's $160 a month. Now, you're married, you got 2 kids. Would it be reasonable once every 2 weeks you have date night with your wife, where you end up getting a babysitter? And maybe you either go to a party, or you go to a friend's house and play some cards, or you go to a decent restaurant? Again, nothing extravagant, is it? So what's it going to cost you for a babysitter for the night? It's going to cost you $50 for the babysitter. So that's $100 a month because you're only doing it once every 2 weeks. And if you go to a restaurant with the wife, let's say you manage to do it real cheap where you sit there and say, honey, what do you have? And she goes, I guess I'll have champagne. You go, no, guess again. Okay? So what we're basically talking here is, let's say you manage to cheapen it down to only $100 for the meal. So that's only twice a month. So there's $200 a month for that. Now, would you like to have insurance on your house? If it burns down, you want it covered, right? The mortgage company ain't going to give you a mortgage otherwise. Would you like to have insurance on your car? You're probably, now you have a wife and kids, going to have some insurance on yourself. Let's say all your insurance is bundled up, which I would be very impressed if you could do it, but if you could do it for, let's say, $250 a month. That's reasonable. Okay? Now, so far, we haven't included any beer. I don't know if you like to drink beer. We haven't included any wine. Now, would you like to go on vacation once a year? You're going to be 32 years of age. Can you, in your future, do you vision yourself and your wife and your kids going on vacation once a year? Now, is that vacation going to be in some place like Timaru? Or is it going to be someplace a little bit nicer than that? Okay? So now you're going to save up for your vacation because you don't just all of a sudden one day wake up and it's there. And let's say, what's a vacation for you and the wife and the kids going to cost? I don't care if you go camping. I don't care if you go to Disney World. You're going to have to budget it out. But let's say you budget it out for about $4,000 a year. Would that be reasonable? Because you're going to include maybe doing some, going to some shows, maybe going to an amusement park, adding things out. So let's just put $400 a month for your vacation. Now, so far, we haven't saved a nickel for retirement, have we? So far, we haven't included the fact that, do we want to have any clothes? Do you want to wear clothes? You're going to have you and the wife and the kitty running around naked all the time. Now, what's it going to cost you for clothes? Let's say it only costs you between underwear and socks and shoes and everything else. Let's say it only costs you $1,000 a year for you. And let's say it only costs your wife $1,000 a year, even though you can spend over $1,000 on one suit. But let's say that. Now, how much is it going to cost your kiddies? And here's the really thing I don't like about these little rascals. You know what the biggest problem with kids are? The son of a guns grow. You just buy a pair of shoes and all of a sudden, boom, it don't fit anymore. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jacob. Yeah, but I'll buy them 5 sizes too big. They'll grow into them. Yeah, kid's gonna look like a clown walking around, isn't he? Okay? So what's it gonna cost you? Okay? And you remember one thing about kids. It just can't be any clothes. They gotta have Nike. They gotta have Adidas. They gotta have what's the new current thing? My friends are all wearing those things. But let's say you get away for the whole year for you, the wife, the kiddies, including their sporting equipment, $6,000 for the year. And you budget it at $500 a month. Okay? Nobody's paying anything testing. Now, do you want to have the kids to do sports? Do you want little Janie to be able to do ballet or to do music? You're going to have something there, aren't you? Are you going to send them to decent schools? Are you going to get them school books? And in New Zealand here, you have to wear about uniforms. All of these things add up. We haven't got a computer in this. We don't have internet involved in this. Now, how many people here do you really believe, and you're 32 years of age, is not going to have internet in your home? What's internet going to cost you a month? Now, if you happen to have 2 kids, you're going to want unlimited internet, aren't you? So let's say you do it for $80 a month. Now, here's the thing that really, see, I didn't have to worry about this 20 years ago, but you guys do now. How many people, do you have a cell phone? Do you have a cell phone? Is your wife going to have a cell phone? And once your kids become teenagers, are they going to have cell phones? What's your cell phone package going to be a month? Now, what are you paying right now? $100, okay? So if it's you and the wife, you're at $200. Let's say you get a really cheap package for the whole family for $250 a month. That's reasonable? Okay? Again, that's nothing super spectacular, but that's just there. Okay? Again, now, do you want the wife to have a car? I mean, who's going to drive the kiddies around to soccer practice and all the other things while you're coming home from work and all the other stuff? Okay? But let's say her car is going to be a much more reasonable. You manage to get her for only $350 a month. There's only one problem. You know what her car uses? also uses gasoline. So we got another, let's say a half a tank. A tank of gas every 2 weeks. Okay? So now we got her at $150 a month for her gasoline. Now we haven't got car repairs in there. We haven't got changing tires, new tires. We know these things up. All of a sudden a new transmission comes up. Hopefully you'll always have the thing under warranty, so all that stuff's going to be covered. Okay? We haven't got any fancy trips anywhere. You haven't got any extracurricular activities. For example, maybe you would have a dream of, hey, listen, I would dream about owning a boat. Or maybe your dream was always to own a country house or a beach house or a botch or something. Okay, let's take those dreams out of there for a moment because you've got kids now. It's a whole different set of dreams. Okay? But all of these things cost money. So we have the very, very basics, haven't we? We don't have anything fancy here whatsoever, and we haven't got anything else included in here. Like, for example, renting movies from the movie store or getting them off of the Netflix or getting them off of something else. Okay, there's all these extra little things that happen. We don't got any birthday parties inside of here. We don't got any Christmas presents involved in this. We don't have any birthday presents involved in this. We don't have Christmas dinner involved in this because Christmas dinner is going to cost you $300 alone for the turkey and all the fixings and everything. So we have a pretty basic life so far. Wouldn't you agree? But it's a livable life. It's not the worst life in the world. So just for this very basic life, what do you have? You got 3,100, you got 4,000, you got 42, you got 54, 55, 61, 64, 65, 66, 68, 7, 74, 79, and there's, so 8,000, 85, 86, 87. You have $8,800 per month in expenses for a very, very, very basic life. But we agree. $1,000 a year doesn't buy you a whole lot of shoes. If you're considering shoes, and by the way, we haven't even got into toiletries. We haven't got into soap. We haven't got into dishwasher soap. We haven't got into cologne. We haven't got into razor blades. We haven't even got into toilet paper. So we haven't even got into the necessities of life. But you need $8,800 a month. Now here's a funny thing, okay, that I've noticed. Is we have a weird thing in the world, especially in first world countries, and that's called income tax. Income tax is about as weird as it can be, can't it? You got to pay that thing. It's crazy. So you need $8,800, which is 8,800 times 12, is over $100,000 a year, plus you need to have the taxes, and taxes on average is about another 35%. So you need to make yourself $140,000 a year, even if your wife had a full-time job. And now if your wife has a full-time job, your expenses now go up a lot higher because you now get daycare. You got to have someone take care of the kids when they come home from school. You got to have lunches for school and all the things. Even if you manage to split it with the wife, you both need to make over $70,000, yet with the average income is less than $40,000. So what are your choices? Well, your choice is number one, let's change our goals. That $600,000 in the house now becomes a rental. Or we hope that mom and dad ends up leaving us theirs when they go. All of a sudden your car ends up becoming a second-hand car that you're spending more money on repairs than you ever did on a car payment. All of a sudden your food becomes hamburger helper on a continuous basis. Get that mince going all the time. All of these things change. So folks, you got one of two choices. You either realize and start figuring out how you're going to make that type of money, and if you want to start increasing that, if you want to have a nice vacation, if you want to have, we haven't even saved any money for retirement. We better hope that they keep talking about the pensions still being there when you get to retirement age, because they keep telling you it's not going to be there. Let's just hope that is the case. All of this, you need to make $140,000 to have a basic life, and you need to make a whole lot more money than that. And the reality is simple. If you made $100,000 a year, you and everybody else in your life would be so proud of you. Your parents would be proud of you. You'd be excited. And you would have an almost difficult time, they have an impossible time to become a millionaire. Because if you make $100,000 a year, you take off your taxes, you're down to $65,000 a year. You start taking off your rent, you start taking off your furniture, you start taking off your clothes, you start taking off any of your food, your car payments, your gas, all the other things. You would have a hard time at the end of the year saving $10,000 if you only made $65,000 clear, wouldn't you? So how many years do you got to make $10,000 on, guys, before you have $1 million in the bank? 100. And that is the reality. I'm not making these figures up. That is the truth. That is what people have to understand. So you have to realize, when I first got into the sales business, I didn't get into the sales business because I wanted to become a salesman. That was not my dream. That was not my goal. My wife will tell you I would probably be the last person in the world who would ever be good in the sales business because I was shy. I was an introvert. We used to go to parties and she used to beg me, please talk to someone tonight. Even though these are people I knew. I was shy. And I got into the sales business because I had an accident with my dad's car. And when I had my accident with my dad's car, I realized that it wasn't an option of whether I'm going to pay it back. It was, you got to get a job because you need to pay this back. And the only place that was available at that time hiring was an ad that said $8 an hour full-time, $6 an hour part-time, call. And I went in there, and it was a room, and there was about 15 or 20 of us. And the manager came in and said, "Listen, guys, is selling vacuum cleaners door to door. If you want the job, fill the application out. If you don't, please leave." And there was a stampede for the door. And there was two people that left, myself and a gentleman named Larry Rose. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "If I told my dad I turned down a job, he'd kill me. So I'm going to fill this application out, but in no way are they going to hire me because I'm not salesman material." But then they did hire me, and then they put me in training. And I struggled the first week. I had a hard time that first week. But I started realizing very quickly that if I didn't change my personality, if I didn't make some adjustments, I wasn't going to be successful. And not being successful was not an option at that point in my life. Because at that point in my life, I had an accident to pay for. Once I paid that accident off, options were open to me. But I had to figure it out. So I had to start pretending, if you want to use a better word, to be a person who would talk to people. I had to start engaging and talking to people, and it was very uncomfortable for me. I remember after about my 10th or 11th day, I wasn't selling very much, and my trainer came with me by the name of Tim Hemmings, and Tim watched me do the demo, and at the end of the demonstration, he said, "Carmen, why are you spending all your time talking to the vacuum cleaner? Why are you spending all your time looking at that?" And I said, "Because people make me nervous. I'm shy. I have a hard time talking to people." He goes, I get that. He goes, "Here's what I want you to do. Make sure the husband and wife are sitting beside each other at the couch, and I want you to talk to the wall behind them. At least they will think you're talking to them." And so I started doing that. And I started getting a little bit better results. But it was when I went out on a demonstration with an older guy, Norwegian guy by the name of Einar Nyberg, that things completely changed. We went into a home, because he was selling 5, 6, 7 every week. Man, he was a selling machine. But he was the last person who looked like a salesman. So I went out to watch him, and I remember sitting there and him doing the demonstration, and he was getting all these people, and he was dancing with the machine, and he was having fun. No sales skill at all. I was always brought up salesmen are prim and proper, in a suit with a briefcase, very, very stodgy. He was having fun. He was engaging and talking to the people, and the people were having fun. And I'm sitting there saying, "Oh my God, we're going to get killed. Oh my God, we're going to get thrown out. There's no way you could talk like that. There's no way you could be dancing around in someone's home like that." And I never seen an easier sale made in my life, ever. Because the people were having fun. We had a great product, but I was trying to sell it on the need. People needed the machine, and I know they needed the machine. But people don't buy what they need. They never buy what they need. Ever go to a KFC? Okay, KFC may want to sue me now, I don't care. If you go to a KFC, the average person going inside to get a bucket of chicken, do you think they need a bucket of chicken, fried chicken? Or do you think they need a salad? They need a salad, but they want that chicken, all 11 secret herbs and spices of it, don't they? Okay, people never what they need. Have you ever had caught yourself out drinking? And you're in a bar, and you're about as plastered as you could be. The last thing you need is another beer. And you're broke. But your friend's right next to you, and you're like, "Hey man, can you lend me $3 for another beer?" You don't need one. You're already way over limit. But you want. People buy what they want. And what Einar did in that demonstration by having fun was he showed them want. He got them wanting that machine because of all the fun they can see having. That is the biggest difference. But you've got to make sure that you have the desire to decide what it is that you want. There's a new term speak today in psychology, and I love it how things change. It's called the why. You need to know the why you're doing things. Once you understand the why, you can focus. Well, why is a goal? That's all the why is a new word for goal. You need to have a goal. And a goal is another word for a simple thing called desire. And desire is what's going to get you to make the money to have that $600,000 home or even $1 million home. Desire is what's going to make you do the things that you need to do to get the things that you want. Because the average person sells themselves short. The average person leaves money on the table. And I know you're the type of person who believes, no. If I have it in me to make more, I make everything I possibly get. Well, I'm going to give you a really simple example, probably the easiest example I could ever possibly get. I'm going to ask you to come up here for a second, Jacob. Now you look like, come on up. You look like a relatively athletic person. You know, you're not pudgy the way I am. So I want you to stand right there. Okay, just stand right here. And I want you to stand behind this pen. Pretty simple. And I want to see if you, now this is going to be to see how successful you can be. Okay, I want to see, do you have the ability to jump over that pen from where you are? Let me see you do it.
2 feet.
What?
2 feet.
Well, just jump over that pen. Stop. Perfect. That is awesome. Now go back for a second. So I asked you to jump over that pen, and that's how far you jumped. Pretty good job, right? Now I'm going to ask you to do something different. I'm going to ask you to take that pen. I'm going to take this goal away from you. I want you to jump now as far as you can. Don't worry, I won't let you crash into the wall. Fantastic. Good job. Stop for a second. Don't worry, guys, put that down there and have a seat. Now here's what I don't understand, Jacob. In the very beginning, you had the ability to jump from here to there, didn't you? But you only jumped that far. Why?
That's what the mark was.
Yeah, but did anybody say that you couldn't surpass that mark by a lot? See, you give yourself a goal. I want to make $700 this week. And you have the ability to make $3,000, but you're so focused on only making $700 that you're giving yourself a nice, easy goal to surpass. And that's where people mess up. People do not push themselves to their abilities. They don't push themselves to all they can do because they don't know how they can do. What's the most amount of money you can make in a week? You don't know because you've never pushed yourself to jump as far as you can, and that now becomes the minimum acceptable. You have to find it. You're leaving money on the table all the time, guys. You've got to realize that it's desire. Desire is what it's all about. See, when I was brought up, our desire for gain was 10 times bigger than our fear of loss because we had nothing to lose. I mean, I grew up, I never slept in my own bed till I moved out of the house. And listen, I guarantee your parents and grandparents have the same type of stories. The ability to have all these things. Nobody had their own TV in their bedroom. You had one TV in the house and there's 2 channels on it. So it wasn't like that. So you have to have a desire. You need that. Now, if you find yourself tired, if you find yourself lethargic, if you find yourself having a hard time getting out of bed in the morning, we'll keep that out of the way, out of bed in the morning, it's because you haven't got a desire yet. You haven't found your goal of what you're willing to fight for. I was working many years ago as a national sales manager in Canada, and I used to visit a gentleman in Vancouver. And no matter how hard I tried, I'd always be up early in the morning, sitting in the hotel lobby, waiting to be picked up by this gentleman who was a regional distributor. And I'd be sitting there at 8:30, 9, 9:30, 10. 10:30, I'd call him, and he'd answer his phone, he'd just get out of bed. And his argument to me was, Herman, I'm not a morning person. I just can't get out of bed in the morning. I just have a hard time getting out of bed. And this was frustrating to me, because the later you start in your day, the less you're going to get done. Instead of you starting your day early at 8 o'clock and get ahead of everything that's happening, you start your day at 10 o'clock, you're just trying to catch up to all the messages and all the things you should have already had done. But I found out something very quickly. This guy loved golfing. Loved to go golfing more than anything. And so whenever I'd say to him, hey, we got a tee-off time tomorrow morning for 6 o'clock, he was always there at my hotel by 5:30 with a great big smile on and his golf clubs are raring to go. And it would take us 2.5 to 3 hours to do the 18 holes. He'd get me back to the hotel, usually by about 8:30. I'd have my shower, he'd have his shower, and we were in the office by 9:15. Never had a problem. The only way, he did not have the desire to get up in the morning to get to his business and get things going, but he had such a strong desire for golf. You've got to find out what your desire is. See, right now I tell you, guys, work hard, get smart, learn, educate yourself, start to work on the things that you need to know, and you'll make $140,000 a year. And right now in the back of your head is a little light bulb that says, wait a minute, Carmen, what happens if I do all that and it doesn't happen? What happens if I do everything you say? What happens if I start being more positive, if I start working harder, I start doing everything you say and it doesn't happen? What if? So let's just change the scenario for a second. If I gave you the keys right now to a brand new $1 million home, and I gave you the keys right now to a Ferrari, and I said, at the end of next week, if you do not do the things I tell you you have to do, you have to give me those keys back. How many of you would be giving me the keys back? How many of you right now have the ability to make $5,000 today? Very, very few people in the world. So if I put $5,000 in your pocket and say, it's yours, it's yours. But at the end of the day, you do not accomplish the goals I set for you, you have to give me back. How many would give me the $5,000 back? And if you did have to give the $5,000 back, How many would be giving me the $5,000 back because you didn't give it everything you got? How many would you be giving up at 6 o'clock at night? Or 8 o'clock at night? Or how many of you would still be fighting till midnight to hit your goals so you get to keep it? See, once you have something, you work really hard to keep it. That fear of losing what you already have is stronger than your desire to get things you don't have. You got to get that desire, guys. I promise you, if you do everything you're capable of doing, you will far surpass everything. But it comes down to a simple little lesson, guys. And that simple little lesson is this. If you take a look at these squares, and I quickly ask you, tell me how many squares do you see?
16.
16. And that's what most people would say. And some people will see 17. But the reality is there's actually 30 squares. There's obviously the 16 that we see. Then we got the big one, which makes it 17. But we also have 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, it's a square. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. There's ones in the center here. The one's over there. And then you get to go to the 3 by 3s. There's 30 squares. Sometimes you have to look a little bit deeper than just what's on the surface. Most people can see what's on the surface. They can't see that little bit deeper. Okay? You've got to understand that it's all about realizing that things are always going to be there that you don't see. But if you're excited and you're going after it, it's never going to be a problem. Now, you decide to say, and you may sit there and say, well, why do I want to get to the sales game? Because there's never been an unemployed salesman. There's unemployed nurses, and there's unemployed teachers, and there's unemployed accountants, and there's unemployed architects, and there's unemployed shippers and receivers, there's unemployed mechanics. There's no unemployed salesman. Unless somebody's selling something, nothing's being done. If all the salesmen in the world today, right now, decided to go on strike, the world would come to a halt. There'd be no truck drivers delivering anything because nobody sold anything, so we got nothing to deliver. Sales is not about talking people into buying something they don't want. And the biggest fallacy in the world that I absolutely hate, my glasses keep slipping down on me, is people who sit there and say, oh, you're a born salesman. There is no such thing as a born salesman. Have you guys ever seen a little 2-year-old salesman running around? Have anybody ever been at the hospital where a baby's born and the doctor says, hey, welcome to an 8-pound, 7-ounce doctor? We got ourselves a 9-pound accountant here. There's no such thing as a born salesman. I know people who could talk their ears off, can't sell worth crap, because they don't understand talking is not. Good selling is giving customers the information they need to make an informed decision. Delivering that information in an excitable way so that they make the decision based on the information you gave them on their needs and wants and desires. No such thing as a born salesman. Do you know how to fly an airplane? Of course not. So if right now me and you went up in a 747 and I jumped up and you're by yourself, what's the chance of you crashing? Pretty good. Now if I taught you how to fly that airplane, could you learn? If we can teach elephants to dance in it, if we could teach whales or killer whales to actually take a somersault out of a pool, and I don't know if very many people speak whale language, we can certainly teach human beings to be successful. We can certainly teach you to be better than what you are. So it's not being a born salesman. And it's like everything. The more you do with something, the easier it gets. The most important thing you need to understand about sales is sales and running your own business. If you run your own business, you're a salesman. If you're a mechanic and you run your own shop, you're trying to convince people. You're selling people to come to your shop for you to work on their cars. That's as simple as that. If you're an architect, you are going to firms every week and trying to sell them to use your architect firm to design their buildings. It's as simple as that. Everybody is already in sales, but not everybody is getting paid to be in sales. But the most important thing about selling is to realize that selling is a numbers game. And I'll give you an example. We like to use the numbers game of 1 out of 3. Basically, if you go out and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 demonstrations, 3 people are going to buy. Now, there is conditions to that, and I'll explain that in a second. But that's a fact. The numbers game is never, ever going to change. I don't care what it is that you're selling. I don't care what it is you're doing. Nobody, Michael Jordan, for year after year after year, was the #1 scorer in the NBA. If anybody took the time to look, he also was the person who threw the most shots in the NBA. Nobody talks about all the ones he missed. But he missed lots. And he wasn't worried about the ones he missed. He was counting the ones he got. Now, it would be easy if it worked like this. It would be easy, Jacob, if it went DNS, DNS, DNS means did not sell, DNS, DNS, sale, DNS, DNS, sale, DNS, DNS, sale. Wouldn't that be perfect? Because I would tell you, you know something, Jacob? Don't waste your time with these people. They're not going to buy anyways, and you can get 100%, wouldn't you? But you see, the numbers game doesn't work like that. The numbers game always works. And you have to believe in the numbers game, because it always works. So basically, if you went out and did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you might go out there and make sale, 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 DNS, 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 DNS. What are the numbers? 1 and 3, right? And you might go out and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you may go DNS, 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 sale, sale, sale. I don't care what it is you're selling. If you're selling houses, you may go 3 sales in a row, and you may show 6 houses and not make a sale. But what are our numbers here? Still 1 and 3, right? But here's what happens, and this is where salespeople overthink themselves. When you go out and you make a sale, how do you feel? You feel great, don't you? You feel excited, you're all pumped up. I mean, you got energy, don't you? And then the very next presentation you go on to, again, no matter what it is, so you're sending a video out for the Hilo, or you're doing a presentation for vacuum cleaners, or you're talking to people who came on the car lot to sell cars, and you make another sale right away. How you feeling now? Ha ha ha, baby, I got the magic. You're all excited inside, aren't you? And then you make another sale, and right about now you're sitting there saying, just call me Magic Man. I'm the best there ever was. And you're walking around a little cockier. You feel about a couple inches taller, don't you? You got a smile from ear to ear. There's nothing that can happen. You think you got it all going on. And then you go out and you do a DNS. No big deal. You got to miss a couple, right? And then you do another DNS. 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 And what are you thinking right about here? Holy shit. Did I lose my magic? My lucky underwear's not working properly now. What's happening here? And then you do another DNS. And the week's over. And you're going, phew! Am I ever glad that week's over? My God, I got to take this weekend to recharge. I got to take this weekend to get my mojo back. And you're thinking all these crazy thoughts in your head. And then Monday morning you come in and you're charged up and you're excited because last week's over. And you've got yourself, because you're a professional, thinking, hey man, you got to have positive thoughts, you got to think positively. And you go out there and the first demonstration you do Monday morning is a DNS. And you're thinking, oh shit, here we go again. And then you do another DNS, and then you do another DNS. And right about here, we got to talk you off the ledge so you don't jump. Because you're starting to think, oh, the life's come to an end. And you do another DNS, and another DNS, and another DNS. And my question to you is, where's your attitude at this point? So when you go into this house, based on the numbers game, that's going to be a sale. But when you go into this home, or when you talk to this customer, or when you have this person come on your car lot, or when you have this person come to your open home, whatever it is you're selling, are you going to be there, hello there, how you doing? Great to see you today? Or is it going to be, hi, my name is Carmen, and I'm going to show you something. I hope that you're interested, and you're going to be like, oh, crap, they got blue curtains. And every time I show someone with blue curtains, they never buy. Oh, man, that's a bad signal. Oh, and they got a green carpet. Oh, my God, blue curtains, green carpet. Oh, that's a disaster. Oh, God, I can get through this. And instead of having, hey, how you doing today? Great day, man. I got a fantastic product or a fantastic home or a beautiful car. You're sitting there already feeling sorry for yourself, and you end up blowing the sale. So the beautiful thing about the numbers game is they'll always work. They always work. You just got to work the numbers game. And when I go out and if I do a DNS, do you know what I do? I get excited because I'm closer to the sale. That's a guarantee. And the next time I go out, I get even more excited. And the next time I go out, I even get more excited. I remember when I was a sales trainee, my trainer said to me, if you ever sell on your 6:30 demo, make sure you get on your 8:30 demo. 100% guaranteed all the time they buy. Now I just thought in my head that if you sold your 6:30, as a bonus they gave you an 8:30 who wanted to buy. So I never, ever, ever not got on my 8:30 when I sold my 6:30, and I always sold my 8:30. And I remember sitting there with a salesman one time, and I said, oh wow, it's great, man, this is fantastic. I can't wait to sell my 6:30 tonight. I guarantee my 8:30 sale. He goes, what do you mean? I said, when you sell 6:30, they give you an 8:30 who wants to buy. He goes, no, they don't. I said, yeah, they do. Because every time I sell my 6:30, I sell my 8:30. He goes, because you're so excited, the customer gets excited. If you can't get excited about life, don't expect people around you to get excited. If you can't get excited about the possibilities and the things that can happen for you, don't expect great things to happen for you. Now, everybody can get excited when something really good happens. It's amazing. The average person who doesn't really smile a lot, when they happen to put a pair of pants on and put their hand in the pants and all of a sudden find a $50 bill they forgot's there, you got to see that person smile. And not only does that person smile, that person tells everybody they meet that day, hey, I found $50 this morning. Yeah, your own $50, but it's still a good feeling inside. And all of a sudden their day is made. You have to be the type of person who can get excited before great things happen, and then great things will happen. You're conditioned, without expecting it, to fail. You're conditioned to expect bad things. You're what I like to call an optimistic pessimist. You're hoping for the best, but you're kind of expecting the worst. That's what you're doing. And I'll tell you an example of it. You're walking down the street. All of a sudden you see a $50 bill on the floor. What do? Now I know every one of you out there looking at this video is saying, I picked the $50 bill up. No, you don't. No, you don't. Put a $50 bill down and stand back and watch what happens when people come along. The first thing you do when you see that $50 bill is you look around. Who dropped it? It just doesn't appear. I'm not that lucky. And you're looking to see if anybody's around. If you don't see anybody around, then you sort of kind of bend over, reach up, put it in your pocket, and then you all of a sudden walk a little bit, a little bit more step, a little bit more bounce. But your first instinct is not to pick it up, because money doesn't come that easy. Your first instinct is to look around. And it's the same thing in your life. You want good things to happen, but you're expecting bad things to happen. Now that's not to say that if you start expecting good things, bad things aren't going to happen. The worst day of your life hasn't happened yet. That's going to be the day you die. Bad things can happen, and they will happen. But if you can get positive and excited about life, when they happen, you'll get past them faster. It's funny how, sometimes, many years ago, I spent a little bit more on my cars than I should have. That's the problem with having a strong engine. So I ended up getting to the point where we have 15 points in Canada, and I was at 12 points. So I only had 3 points left. And once you get to 12 points, you have to go to a driver's re-education program. Hated that name, re-education. I already know how to drive. But anyways, I figured you had to go. If you didn't go, they suspended your license for 30 days. So I went. And I remember the first day sitting there, and there was one gentleman who was there, there was about 7 of us sitting at this boardroom table, and there was an instructor, and there's one gentleman who was there who could not stop arguing and whining and crying about the fact that he got a speeding ticket and he wasn't speeding. And the whole night, he just kept on wanting to talk about that. And I'd seen the best answer I've ever seen when the instructor finally said, stop for a second. And the guy stopped. He goes, I'm going to agree with you. The police officer might have given you a ticket when you weren't speeding. Let's say that's true, for argument's sake. But let me ask you this question. Have you ever been speeding, not got a ticket? Have you ever gone over the speed limit on the highway and not got a ticket? Have you ever gone through a stop sign or a red light at 2 o'clock in the morning and not got a ticket? Have you ever driven your car without a seatbelt and not got a ticket? For the one time that you got a ticket that you didn't deserve it, how many times did you not get a ticket you did deserve? And that's the way life is. That's what you need to understand. For the bad things that do happen, they happen. But if you're positive about them, excited, you will get past them onto the good things. That's what it's all about. That's what you need to understand the numbers game. It's not any more different than that. Don't sell yourself short, guys. Don't be jumping for that. If you went out and you made yourself $50,000 a year, you thought, oh, wow, that's awesome. $5,000 a month's great. But what if you knew you could make $7,000? Let's say, for example, Jacob, you decide to sell your car. And your goal is, okay, I'm going to sell my car and I want to get $6,000 for it. And so you happen to put it on Auto Trader or Trade Me or eBay, and you put it on there and someone comes by and they offer you $5,950. And so you take the deal. You wanted $6,000, you lost $50, you'd feel pretty stoked, you'd feel pretty happy with yourself, right? But what if after the sale's been made and you've sold him the car, he's given you the money, you've signed over the car, you happen to have a beer with the gentleman, and he says to you, I was prepared to pay you $7,500 because I really wanted this car. How would you feel then? Would you feel happy that you made the $6,000 you wanted? Or would you be upset with yourself because there's another $1,500 you left on the table? Are you excited about the fact that every single month you wished you made a little bit more money? Every single year you're waiting until the end of the year so hopefully next year you can ask the boss for a raise? Or are you upset with yourself for that little bit extra? Don't sell yourself short, guys. Start to realize and put life into perspective. If you were walking down the street right now, Jake, and you had a $100 bill in your pocket, and someone came up to you and reached in your pocket and took that $100 bill out, what would you do?
Slap the shit out of him.
It's only a $100 bill. It's nothing important. So you'd try to talk it back into it. You'd try to say, give me my money back. You wouldn't let him walk away. So you would probably do everything you possibly could, including call some friends up if you had to. But you wouldn't kill him, I don't think, for $100. But you might get physical a little bit for a lousy $100 bill. The amount of energy, would you give up after 5 minutes? Would you give up after 20 minutes? Would you give up after an hour? 3 hours later, you're probably still yelling and screaming at him, wouldn't you? Pushing him. Maybe he's a big, strong guy, so you got 3 friends holding him down, but he's not letting you have it. 4 hours later, you'll still be fighting. That's only $25 an hour. You're willing to put all that energy, all that creativity, all of that desire to get $100 back. And you would be so angry about someone taking $100 from you. And what do you do with the thousands that you give up every day by not pushing yourself? I said it in another video, guys. The difference between the average person and rich people is simple. The average person has the ability to do the same thing the rich people do, that they only have that ability when they're under stress. They only have that ability when they have bills come up, or their daughter's tuition for university, or something else. And then all of a sudden they kick it in gear, they save a little bit more, they work a little harder, they maybe get an extra job for 2 months, but once that bill's paid, they relax and they go back to their zone. Rich people have the ability to make money when they have no bills. That is the difference, guys. You've got to get your desire level up. That's the only difference. If I gave you right now $1,000 and said, you can keep that, as long as you make sure you bring a sale in today. But if you don't bring a sale in today, you've got to give it back. If I give you $10,000 right now, so go out there today, you got to go door knocking, you got to go find someone who's going to buy a car, or you're going to find someone who's going to buy a Hilo, or you got to find somebody who's going to buy a Monarch, or you got to find somebody who's going to buy a house. If you don't, you got to come back and give me that $10,000 back. What are the chances of you giving me that $10,000 back? How long will you still be sitting here after I say go? Would you still be sitting here 15 minutes from now and saying, no, Carmen, so what do you think is the best way for me to go out and so I can keep this 10,000? Would you still be here an hour from now saying, Tony, what do you think? Do you think I should maybe go to this part of town? Do you think I'm luckier in that part of town? Or will you already be gone? And let's say you had a struggle, and it started getting dark around 9:30. Would you be calling me up saying, oh, Carmen, it's been a tough day. Can you give me an extra day? Would you be coming back at 9:30 and giving it to me? I wouldn't see you till midnight. And at 5 minutes to midnight, you'd still be saying, I still got time. I still got time. You guys, I've got to realize you still have time to do it. If you had that same desire that you would have if you had the 10,000 in your pocket, to get the 10,000, you would make 20,000. You're only selling yourself short. You're only hurting yourself. Nobody else. Let's realize, Ferrari has 300 to 400 cars sitting at their plant. You don't have one. That's not fair. Who deserves to live in a beautiful home more than you? Who deserves to go on nice vacations more than you? Who deserves to eat in a nice restaurant more than you? If not you, then who? And if you don't start treating yourself, and if you don't start loving yourself, and if you don't start forgiving yourself for the mistakes that you've made that nobody else knows about, so why tell them? Then do what you got. Make it happen, and make it happen now. Have a great day. Thank you.